How's it going, everyone? Devon from Debo's Fishing, and I want to talk to you about keeping your airbrush clean. So the process of cleaning airbrush is pretty simple, and these are pretty universal. So this is my personal airbrush that I used to paint with, but every airbrush is going to come with an exploded diagram of how to assemble and disassemble your airbrush. So they're usually going to have a piece here that protects your needle, and there's a little nut on the back of this that holds this in. And you can see as you move this back, that's what keeps your needle in place. So you're going to remove this piece and pull out your needle. Now you'll notice inside here, the paint inside the cup, not all of that was out of there. I didn't even notice that, and that's a perfect point to take a look at now, because you want to make sure you get this as clean as possible. You don't want to drag paint back through your airbrush. So I'm going to grab my hose. Another little tip for cleaning, they have these quick detached deals. You can get them on Amazon, a lot of places. It makes it so much easier for cleaning, because if you have a direct connect to your airbrush, sometimes it can be kind of, odd or hard to move this around, but you can pop this off like this and it makes cleaning a lot easier. Now, getting the rest of the paint out of the cup. So I've got some Do It cleaner here that works really well because it's got a little bit of it's a mild, I guess, solvent, you would say. It's not real aggressive where it's going to tear up and eat up your airbrush. I've heard of people using crazy stuff to clean out their airbrushes, and a lot of that can ruin the seals. It's too abrasive on the inside of this. It'll eat off the, like the chrome plating and finish. So don't mess around with that. It's not worth having to buy another airbrush, because these aren't cheap. You want to take care of your stuff. So I'm going to get as much of that out of there as I can, and I'm just going to kind of test on a piece of paper or something to see if it's spraying clean. And I know if it's spraying pretty clean, I don't see any paint coming out. I've also got a little cup deal here. You can get these online. Put that in there and it helps so you're not spraying all the water and everything around. But I'm going to keep spraying this and make sure it's coming out clean. And when I get to a spot like this, that's how I'll usually leave my airbrush. I've got it all cleaned, there's not any sort of paint in it, and I will actually leave a little bit of the cleaner in here, or you could put a little bit of alcohol in there if you wanted, and just kind of leave it and let it set. That way, if there's any pieces like down in the cracks or down at the end of that needle, that'll help clean it out, and it keeps that paint from drying in there, because again, you do not want paint to sit in here overnight and dry, because it's crazy to take apart. But let's say we want to clean this all the way out. Maybe it hasn't been spraying completely right, or you feel like there's something stuck in the tip of it. So taking this apart is actually a lot easier than it looks. I'm going to undo this because I've got all the paint sprayed out of there. So I take that nut off the back and I pull my needle out. Then I'm going to take the end off. So for mine, I just have to use a wrench, and this little nut that holds the tip on comes off of this, like so. And you don't want to over tighten these. They're just little rubber gaskets inside here that keep all your air tight. So once you get the tip of your airbrush off, these are going to look a little bit different depending on which airbrush you've got. Inside the tip here, this is a notorious spot for keeping those paint pieces, little dried pieces of paint inside there. So use this little cleaning tool here. They look like little pipe cleaners. Run that around in there with a little bit of cleaning solvent, and make sure you can see through the needle. You'll be able to see light through it to know that it's clean, because when it stops spraying, 9 times out of 10, it's a little dry piece of paint. Another good thing to check is to make sure where the paint comes through your reservoir here, again, using these little pipe cleaner looking deals. Make sure that's all clean in there. You want to make sure that there's not any paint stuck on the outside of that, or excuse me, the inside of that, because that'll continue to narrow down and shrink, and then your paint won't flow through. So make sure that's all good and clean inside there as well. So once you've got all this cleaned up, what do you do with your airbrush? Well, some people will leave it taken apart like this after they've cleaned it after every single use. I'll admit I get a little lazy and I don't do that. I kind of touched on it before, but when I've got all this put back together, I'll leave just a little bit of that cleaner in the reservoir and leave it sitting there. Now, I only do that if I know I'm going to be using it the next day. You don't want to leave that clean in there for an extended period of time. It will kind of gum up and gel up. I'm sure it can also do something to the seals, because this does have a cleaning agent inside of it. So again, I only do that if I'm going to use it the next day, but if I'm done painting and I might not touch this again for another week or so, I would get it all cleaned down and just leave it stripped like that. So I hope these tips help you out on your airbrushing journey. Again, don't let the gun intimidate you. Taking it apart is not as hard as it looks. And again, if you want to increase the longevity of your gun and make sure it's working properly at all times, cleaning it is of utmost importance. So if you're looking for more tips and tricks on painting, head over to the Do It Molds YouTube channel or the Do It Molds website for more.